My friend, have you ever had that feeling that something much bigger is happening behind the story? Something that doesn't just fit in books, but seems to transcend time, speak directly to you, and point to a plan so grand it's breathtaking. Well, today we're going to delve into one of the most extraordinary prophecies the Bible has ever revealed. A prophecy so precise, so complete, so powerful, that brilliant minds like Isaac Newton were simply impressed. Can you imagine that? A genius like that, known as one of the most intelligent men of all time, completely fascinated by the book of Daniel, not out of superstition, not out of emotion, but because the details were completely clear, spanned centuries, and matched history like a perfect clock. And you know what's even more incredible? This prophecy isn't hidden in some obscure corner. It's in chapter 2 of the book of Daniel, recorded hundreds of years before Christ, showing the future of entire kingdoms with extraordinary precision. I'm going to tell you something that will send shivers down your spine. It all begins with a powerful king named Nebuchadnezzar, a man who ruled Babylon, the greatest power of the time. And this king has a dream that troubles him. He doesn't know what it means. No one can explain it. But then Daniel enters, a young Hebrew taken captive to a strange land, who stands before the king and says something that resonates to this day. In Daniel chapter 2, verse 27, he declares that no wise man or enchanter could reveal the mystery, but there was a God in heaven who reveals secrets. Do you realize the weight of this? A young, foreign man before the most powerful man on the planet, saying that only God could explain the future. And then Daniel begins to reveal every detail of the dream. He says that the king saw a huge, shining, terrifying statue. The head was of gold, the chest and arms of silver, the belly and thighs of bronze, the legs of iron, and the feet, part iron, part clay. Each metal represented a kingdom that would arise in history, and these were not guesses. They were not vague ideas. They were real dates, names, and events that would span centuries. The head of gold was Babylon. This appears clearly in the verse where Daniel says, "You, O king, are the head of gold." Babylon was the giant of its time, an empire that seemed eternal. But Daniel says that another kingdom would come after, and it did. The silver represented the Medo-Persian Empire, which overthrew Babylon without bloodshed by diverting the river that flowed around the city. Then the bronze showed Greece, led by Alexander the Great, who conquered the world so quickly that he died young, leaving no heirs. His 4 generals divided the kingdom, exactly as Daniel described. Do you see how precise the details are? These are not theories. The Bible is very clear about this. And the prophecy continues, my friend, because then came Rome, the kingdom of iron, strong, firm, imposing, which dominated for centuries. But now comes something that will impress you. When Rome falls, it is not replaced by a new world empire. It divides, exactly like the feet of the statue, half iron, half clay. Strong on one side, fragile on the other, without full unity. The kingdoms that arose from the fall of Rome became the countries of Europe, and Daniel already said that they would try to unite through marriages, but they would not succeed. And that is what happened. Then they tried to unite through governments, wars, treaties, alliances. Neither Napoleon nor Hitler nor any leader managed to unite Europe. Do you realize how extraordinary this is? A prophecy that spans more than 2,000 years and remains accurate to this day. My friend, this story is so powerful that it touches anyone who loves truth. It's like seeing God's hand writing history before our eyes. Now I want to know your opinion, and I want you to make that very clear in the comments. In the penultimate paragraph, I always make a request, and here it is. If this topic has affected you in any way, if this prophecy has made you look at the Bible with different eyes, comment, "I want to understand God's prophecies." And when we look at all of this, my friend, the feeling is that we are touching something much bigger than simple ancient facts. It's as if every detail of the statue that Daniel explained comes to life before our eyes. The division of Europe, the peoples who emerged from the fall of Rome, the attempts at union that never worked, all of this is part of a thread that runs through the centuries. And this thread didn't begin today. It began back then, when Daniel was still a young captive in Babylon, living far from home but full of courage to say, "There is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries." Do you see how this speaks to us today? History is not lost. It follows a path. Nothing is by chance. And now comes something that will leave you speechless. What Daniel saw wasn't just about ancient kingdoms, it was about the time you live in. Think about that for a second. Daniel accurately described Babylon, then Medo-Persia, then Greece, then Rome. He saw Alexander conquer the world centuries before. He saw Rome divide into peoples that today we call France, Germany, Portugal, England. He saw a continent that was both strong and weak at the same time, a Europe that would try to unite by force, by war, by marriage, but would not succeed. This is no coincidence. The details are absolutely precise. And when you look at all of this, it's chilling to think that we are living exactly in the final part of the vision, at the foot of the statue, iron and clay, strong and weak, united and broken, all at the same time. But there's something you need to understand. Daniel wasn't just describing human events. He was showing that kingdoms pass away, but God remains. And when he speaks of the stone cut without hands, he's pointing to something that is yet to happen, something that doesn't depend on governments, leaders, strategies, or alliances. Something that comes from above. Daniel chapter 2 verse 44 says that in the time of those kingdoms, God will raise up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, a firm, eternal kingdom that will not be dominated by any people. Can you imagine the impact of that? Everything we see today, all these powerful nations, all this instability, all of this is within a plan that was revealed centuries ago. Here's something fascinating. The story that to many seems like a mess, uncertainty, chaos, is exactly the story Daniel said we would see. A divided Europe, strong kingdoms, weak kingdoms, attempts at union that fall apart, internal tensions, national identities that don't disappear. Do you realize how extraordinary this is? We're not talking about assumptions. We're talking about a prophecy that spanned Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, Rome, the Middle Ages, wars, empires, and remains strong to this day. And even more impressive, it points to what is yet to come. But now comes the part that will truly impact you. If we are living at the foot of the statue, then we are living in the Stone Age, the time when everything Daniel warned about begins to make sense, the time when God is close to establishing his kingdom. This is not theory. This is not superstition. This is history unfolding before your very eyes. And when you realize this, it seems like everything changes. It seems like life takes on a different weight, a different direction, a different urgency, because we're not just talking about the past, we're talking about now. My friend, if this content has resonated with you, if it's opening your eyes, I need to ask you something in the second to last paragraph, the right way. Subscribe to the channel. It's not just to grow the video. It's because each new piece of content delves deeper into these revelations, shows archaeological facts, ancient texts, and connections that will strengthen your faith and give you clarity in such a confusing time. You'll receive everything firsthand and won't miss a single detail of these extraordinary truths. And as we continue to look at this perfect line that runs through history, my friend, you can feel the weight of what is happening. Because when Daniel describes each kingdom, he's not just talking about power, he's showing how everything changes, how nothing on earth lasts forever, and how there's an invisible thread guiding everything. Have you noticed that? The head of gold fell, the silver fell, the bronze fell, the iron fell, the feet remained divided. But the plan remains firm. This affects us because it shows that nothing here is as solid as it seems. Not empires, not governments, not systems. Everything passes. Only God remains. And you know what's even more incredible? The accuracy of the prophecy doesn't diminish with time. On the contrary, each passing century makes everything even clearer. Babylon fell exactly as Daniel said. Medo-Persia conquered Babylon exactly as Daniel said. Greece was divided into 4 parts exactly as Daniel said. Rome fell into smaller kingdoms exactly as Daniel said. And Europe remains divided exactly as Daniel said. Do you realize how extraordinary this is? We're not talking about vague ideas, we're talking about facts, about history, about dates, about events that you can open a book to and confirm. Now comes something that will send shivers down your spine. When Daniel describes the feet of iron and clay, he is describing a world that seems strong, but breaks easily. A world that tries to unite cultures, currencies, politics, governments, but nothing remains stable. A world that makes agreements today and breaks them tomorrow. Isn't that exactly what you see when you look around? Tensions, crises, disputes, fragile alliances, decisions that change from one moment to the next. Iron shows strength, clay shows fragility. And we are living exactly at the point where the two meet. Can you feel it? It's as if everything is held together by very thin threads. But there's something you need to understand. When the Bible speaks of the stone that is removed without the aid of hands, it is showing a moment that doesn't depend on men. It doesn't depend on politics. It doesn't depend on military force. It doesn't depend on leaders. The stone comes from above. It represents the arrival of the kingdom of God. A kingdom that, as Daniel chapter 2 verse 45 says, crushes all previous kingdoms and becomes an eternal kingdom. This is not a metaphor. This is not poetry. This is a promise. A clear, firm, powerful promise that points to the return of Jesus. I'm going to tell you something that will impact you. Many wise men throughout history have tried to explain why this prophecy matches reality so perfectly. Isaac Newton, for example, studied Daniel for years. A brilliant, respected, logical, analytical man. And do you know what he concluded? That there is no coincidence that explains such precision. That only God could reveal something of this magnitude with so much detail. And when you look at the world today, at the growing fragility, the instability, the desperate search for control, it becomes clear. We are living exactly at the point that Daniel saw. And you know what's most impressive? The prophecy doesn't point to fear, it points to hope. It shows that God hasn't lost control, that he knows where everything is going, that he has already seen the end even before the beginning. This calms the heart. It brings peace to the soul. It shows that no matter how much the world trembles, you are not lost. God continues to direct history as he always has. He was present in Babylon. He was present at the fall of Rome. He is present in the instability of Europe. And he is present now in your life too. My friend, if all of this makes sense to you, if it's clarifying your understanding of the Bible and helping you understand the times we live in, I want to ask something in the second to last paragraph. Click like. This greatly helps this content reach more people who need to hear these truths, and also strengthens this series so that more videos like this can be made. Your like really makes a difference, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And when we get to this point in the prophecy, my friend, it's as if everything falls into place with a clarity that leaves us speechless. Because when you look at every detail that Daniel described, from Babylon to the feet of iron and clay, it becomes impossible to ignore what it means. The story follows exactly what God showed centuries before Christ. It's not human strength. It's not chance. It's not luck. It's divine guidance. Can you feel it? It's as if the Bible is calling you by name, reminding you that nothing escapes God's control, neither the past nor the present, nor what lies ahead. And do you know what's even more extraordinary? The prophecy doesn't end at the feet of the statue. It points to something much greater. The stone. That stone cut without hands. The one that strikes the feet and brings everything down. The one that becomes a great mountain and fills the whole earth. This is not the end of human kingdoms. This is the beginning of the kingdom of God. It is the moment when he visibly assumes what he has always controlled invisibly. And Daniel chapter 2 verse 44 makes this very clear. God will raise up an eternal kingdom, a kingdom that will never be destroyed. A firm, perfect, absolute kingdom. Imagine that for a moment, a kingdom without corruption, without war, without pain, without fear, without division, without iron and clay, only peace and justice. But now comes something that will leave you speechless. If we are living precisely in the part of the statue that represents the end times, then that means we are close to the stone, close to the kingdom, close to the return of Jesus. Have you ever stopped to think about that? When you see unstable nations, crises, tensions, disputes, fear in the air, it's not a coincidence. The Bible spoke of this a long time ago. It warned that the world in the last days would be like this, strong on the outside, fragile on the inside, and that's what we are seeing. But this weakness is not meant to scare you. It's meant to awaken you, to remind you that the human kingdom has limits, but God's kingdom does not. And you know what's even more incredible? Prophecy isn't just about empires, it's about people, it's about you. Because in the end, the question isn't whether the kingdom of God will come. It will. The question is, are you ready to be a part of it? Do you realize how this affects us? How it changes our perspective on everything? When you understand that history is reaching a decisive point, you begin to look at life differently. It's no longer just about running, working, trying to control everything. It's about understanding that God is calling you closer, calling you to His kingdom, calling you to true hope, a hope that doesn't end with crises, wars, or the fall of empires. But there's something you need to understand with all your heart. Prophecy didn't come to generate fear. It came to generate faith. It came to remind us that God has always cared for humanity. He cared for Daniel in Babylon. He cared for Israel in times of war. He cared for the church in times of persecution. He cared for His people in all ages. And He cares for you now. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't turned away. He is closer than ever. And when the stone comes, when the kingdom arrives, He wants to find you firm, confident, standing with a heart full of hope. I'm going to tell you something that will give you goosebumps. This prophecy has traveled through millennia to reach you today. Yes, you, wherever you are. In a room, on a bus, in a bedroom, at work. God is showing you that nothing is by chance, that He sees you, that He calls you, that He wants you in His eternal kingdom. This is absolutely extraordinary. Nothing in the world is more valuable than this. Not gold, not silver, not bronze, not iron. Nothing compares to the value that God sees in you. And now, in the penultimate paragraph, I need to ask something the right way. Leave a specific comment. But not just any comment. A comment that shows you understood the message, that you feel God is speaking to you. Write, I want to be part of the kingdom of God. This phrase is simple, but powerful. It's a declaration from the heart, a direct response to what the prophecy revealed. So, my friend, after this journey through the centuries, through the kingdoms and the promises of God, we arrive at the most important point. What does all this mean for you? Prophecy is not about fear, it's about hope. It's about remembering that God directs history and also directs your life. The question remains, are you ready to take a step towards Him? Because the kingdom is coming, the stone is coming, and God is calling you today.